everything.
Alright guys, we're back in free code camp. Build a JavaScript calculator. Last time we did a lot of the HTML, a little bit of the setup, and we're going to dive right back in and finish this bad boy out. So the first thing that we're going to do is actually jump right back into the HTML and kind of make it a little more known which turn you start with. Now, by default, we set it up as turn X and the computer turn O. So we're going to stick with the convention. All we have to do is take this btn primary on turn O and go ahead and put it to secondary. To basically set it so that you can, whichever one you have clicked is the one that you're going to be using here. So you'll see right here, turn X is auto-selected. And that's the one that's going to be up. The one that's down or turned off, like so. So let's do that. We just did that real quick. Now, we are going to do a lot of weird logic that I'm kind of embarrassed to show, but it kind of works, so we'll go with it. First thing we're going to do is something that's pretty straightforward. We're actually going to create a reset function. So let's go ahead and do that. We're just going to call a function here, and we're going to call it reset. The reason we need a reset is whenever you change your turn, we don't want people changing their turns in between stuff. So we're just going to take our turns array and reset it equal to the original array here. We're also going to reset this count variable that I'll explain why this even exists later on. So we're going to set count is equal to 0. And then we're going to change the text of all our tic-tac-toe spots back to what it is. So we're going to target the class, set the text back to the hashtags. And then we're going to take our game-on true variable, which is another thing that we use here to keep track of the computer turn and see if who has won and who has lost. So now that we have that out of the way, let me go up to my notes over here. We can go ahead and do this, do this, do this, do this. Then we'll go swap it out. Oh, my bad. We have to actually go ahead and call the reset function here. So we'll call reset, not on the click turn, but when we swapped classes here on both of these. So we call reset here when we switch to turn 0 or turn O, and we call reset here when we switch to turn X. Let's go ahead and save that. And you'll see right here, now we switch turns, it'll reset, switch back, it'll reset. Cool, so that's good to go. We have our turn O click function done. We have our turn X click function. We have the player turn, or the tick click function done. Let's go ahead and jump up to our player turn. So we omitted some code here because we were just trying to follow this a little bit more logically, how I actually did it in order. So last time what we did was we got the value that was in here. We then checked to make sure it wasn't taken. If it wasn't, we then added that turn to our array. Now we're gonna take up top here. We're gonna go ahead and create this var count variable. So var count, and we're going to set it equal to 0. This is going to be used later on to keep track of the player and the computer turn so that the computer doesn't go on indefinitely. I had a while loop issue, and this is what this is for. Keeps track of computer's turn, so no indefinite. So no loop. No loop. There we go. Let's not showcase my spelling here. Now, in here, we're going to go ahead and jump back into the player's turn. Where are we? Player's turn, like so. And we're just going to increment that count. We're basically keeping track of how many turns have taken place. That's what that count is. So there can be a maximum of 9 turns. Now, what we want to do next is set the, remember the game on variable, that's to see if we're still playing, if nobody won. So we're going to go to the win condition right now. We're going to have a win condition. This is going to be a function that's going to check to see if anybody won. and it's going to take in two parameters. It's going to take in our turns array, which is all the positions and what's there, X's and O's, and then our current turn. So if we want to check if they won this turn or not. So we're going to create a function called win_condition. This is going to have a lot of code in it, but it's pretty simple logic if you've ever played tic-tac-toe. So function win_condition, and it's going to take in our turn array, or our turns array, and then our current turn. Remember, you can rename these parameters whatever you want. And we're going to give an example here of the very first one. I'm going to open this up a little bit. There's going to be a lot of if and a lot of else if statements. This first one, let's go ahead and paste in here and we'll explain what's going on. So if turn array 0, remember each one of these represents 0, 1, 2, drops down, 3, 4, 5, drops down, 6, 7, 8. So if turn 0 is here, and then turn 1 is here, and turn 2 is equal to the current turn, it's then going to pop up here and say player X, so whoever turn it was that wins, 1, the top row across 0, 1, and 2 spots. We're going to reset our game on here. Remember, this keeps track of who won. We're going to set that equal to true. The reason for this is a break a while loop. And to check, we're going to do some checking in here. And then we're going to reset the values, alert the player 1, and we're going to basically do that for all of the values across. And so I'm going to just copy and paste in a whole bunch of else if statements here. And then a final else to say game on is false, which basically tells the computer that it can take its turn since we did not just win. Let me go ahead and copy and paste this in here. So you see we have our if turn. Let's go ahead and open this up a little bit. We have our if turn, and then we're going to have a whole mess of other things here. The logic is pretty much the same. So we had, the first one was left, right, and you'll see that our current turn, right now we're just comparing the player turn because we haven't put the computer turn logic, but we're going to be able to recall this function, and it's going to say the current turn, whatever players currently won. Now, if you wanted to say computer, you could probably pass in a third function and do something like that. But I kind of did the bare minimum for this one. This is 2, 4, 6. So this would be 2, 4, 6. So across. And we check for all of the various things. And we put in some alerts here, mainly to help. And then finally down here, if none of these are correct, then we set game on equal to false, meaning that the game continues on. At which point we then queue the computer's turn. So right here we set the win condition. Remember, that's what calls that. We call the win condition function. So that's our win condition function. We're done with that now. But now in our player's turn function, we run this. If the player doesn't win, so we're set an if statement says, look, if that player didn't win, and that means game on is equal to false. We want to run our computer turn function, and then after that, granted we haven't written computer turn function yet, we want to run the win condition function that takes in our current turns array and then takes in the computer's turn, which is either an X or an O. So we're going to go ahead and write our computer turn function now, which is a lot of logic as well. So a lot of logic in this one. I think I could have done this a little bit better. In my this is not something, one of my proudest moments. A little bit confusing, but it works. It's one of those, boys. It works. Don't change shit. I don't care if we can do it better. It works. Computer's turn. So we're creating our computer's turn function. Now, we are going to create a variable here that's going to be used to break the while loop, essentially. And then, so that's our var taken. I'm going to set that equal to false. Now we're going to do a while loop because the computer is going to choose a spot at random, and it may be taken. So we don't want to negate its turn. So that's why we use a while loop, and we're going to set taken is equal to false. So there's two parameters to continue this while loop. So while taken is exactly equal to false, and count, which implements every single time a player takes a turn, is not equal to 5. So a player will have 5 turns. It'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then break. The reason for that is the player will indefinitely, if all 9 spaces are taken, the computer will keep on trying to find a move that it won't be able to actually put anywhere because all 9 spaces are taken, and thus it will create an infinite loop. And this was how I solved this issue. So we're going to say not equal to 5. Do our while loop. Now what we're going to do next is generate the computer's random turn. So generate computer's random turn. We say var computer's move, and we're going to set this equal to a random variable. So we're going to use the math.random. Because we're working between 0 to 9, we're going to times it by 10. And we're going to drop all the decimal places, so we're going to call 2 fixed on it. And that will be our computer's move. The next thing we're going to do is we're just going to create a move variable that is going to output that onto the correct spot. So we're going to target this like so. And we're going to put, we're going to do an if statement. Excuse me. We're going to create the variable that's going to get the value for where that square is. So if it generates a 0, it's going to get the value of the text that's in here. And we're going to set this equal to a variable. And again, similar to how we did the player turn, we're going to pass in the hashtag. And then we're going to pass in the computer's move. Basically, we're getting the ID. And then we're going to get the text that's in that ID. And if it's a hashtag, so if that move is exactly equal to the hashtag, we're going to allow it to make it. And then we're going to set our taken spot equal to true. And that way it doesn't continue to go on and it'll break the loop. And then every time this runs, it'll reset right here. So all we have to do now is get the text from that block, or set the text for that block rather. So we're going to use the selector like so. We're going to pass in the hashtag. We're going to pass in the computer's turn. And then we're going to call the .text on it. And, excuse me, we're going to call .text, which is going to then set it to the computer's turn. And then finally, we're going to go ahead and add that value into the turns array. So we're going to take computer's move, which is, remember, a number right here, the number that we generated. We're going to set that index, and we're going to set it equal to computer's turn, whether they're X or 0. And now that we have that, I believe we are actually done. And let's jump out to the player's turn. Make sure I finish that up. You'll see right here, we call the computer's turn if the player didn't win, and then we check to see if the computer won. So let's save this and hope that I did not forget anything. So the player starts out. We're going to start out as turn O. And unfortunately, the computer did not go. So Dylan has to go find out why. Let's go ahead and look at our logic. Oh, this is computer turn. Change that to computer's turn. Let's go ahead and try this one more time. That still didn't do it. Interesting. Interesting. That's actually meant to be computer turn from what I can tell on my code here. So 1 second, guys. As we all know, sometimes we make little mistakes here. So how I like to do is close all the stuff that's absolutely unrelated. The tick, the function, the reset. player's turn. We're going to look at this first. Do a little bit debugging. We check to see if the spot's taken. If not, we go ahead and increment. Actually, let's start from the top. That'll be easier. We set a default turn. We then check our array. We set the computers to a default. We then set a count equal to 0. Get this game on here. We have our game on equal to false. Turn X. We don't need that either. We don't need that either. Computer's turn. Let's jump down to here. This needs to be computer turn. And we have our var taken value equal to false. And we have a while loop that says while taken is equal to false and count is not equal to 5. We want to generate a random move from the computer. We then want to add that. I see what we did here. This is computer's turn. This needs to be computer's move. Oh, we got these, excuse me, we got this part wrong. Computer's turn needs to be computer's move. Remember, we're actually passing in the ID. Everything should be good to go now. So you'll see the player is going, the computer is going, the player is going. Why didn't the player just win right there? All right, boys, 20 minutes later, we found our error. What is this? This says win condition right here for the player's turn. This says condition. There's our syntax error. And hey, it ain't a coding tutorials 360 guide without a syntax error, you know what I'm saying? So let's go ahead and see if we can get that. And there we go. Player O's wins. We're done. Thank God. Not my best project in all honesty, guys, but I hope it helps you at the very least get some logic down. If you clean this up, make it a little more complicated, you can definitely do this in a better way and a little more stylish. I look forward to seeing your guys' videos on this. For me, I really enjoyed it. The fuck? Yo, what is going on here? This shit is buggy as all hell. Oh, I see what happened. We need to set this to false. That's why it continues on. You should, after one beat... It'll reset. We need to reset here. There we go. And this should reset just fine. Player O goes. There we go. Sorry, make sure you set game on equal to false. My bad there. I gotta change that. But yeah, guys, I hope you found this helpful. I enjoyed doing it not the cleanest thing I ever did, but the logic is there. Work it out, work the kinks out on your own, make it a little more advanced, make it much prettier, and it should be a pretty good project for your portfolio. So as always, guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and a special thanks to you supporting me on Patreon. Your hard-earned money, I appreciate it. Couldn't thank you enough. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching the video. Special thanks to our sponsor, Dev Mountain. Definitely check them out at devmountain.com. If you're looking for a bootcamp that's in front-end development, iOS, or UX, go ahead and give them a shot. Tuition includes housing, so you can get up and go and fully immerse yourself in the program. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.